Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Apophis here, and welcome back to a brand new video on Apophis Tech and Reviews. In today's video, as I teased in my previous Bowers & Wilkins review, I'm gonna talk about the Focal Bathys. These are one of the most insane and most expensive Bluetooth headphones on the planet. And in today's video, we are all gonna explore what you get for your 800 euros, why these are so expensive, the pros, the cons, the features, of course, and talk you through all the high fidelity stuff. Without further ado, let's get into the review. Whoosh! Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk Focal Bathys, and let's talk about these pair of headphones and where they sit in the Focal range, right? So you might think that 800 euros is expensive for a pair of Focal. That's actually not the case. These are quite reasonably priced in comparison to other Focal offerings, right? So in 2024, they released 3 new pair of headphones. Well, 2 new headphones and 1 colorway. So we have now the Dune series, which is the cream version of the Focal Bathys, right? And then you have 2 new offerings without the Bluetooth technology, which is the Azuris and the Hades. So the Azuris is basically an aluminum built headphone with the same aluminum magnesium driver units as found in the Bathys, but it's an amp driven headphone. You can actually connect them through an XLR cable or a 3.5mm jack. Now, of course, the XLR cable is not included with the Azuris and the Hades. You have to buy it separately from Focal, but these are actually amp driven headphones. So the Bathys series is a, well, brown colored pair of headphones with, of course, also the same aluminum magnesium drivers found in the Bathys, but they are open back. So these are closed back headphones, although they sound quite spacious for being a closed back headphone. What's the difference? So an open back headphone allows the driver units to move much more or resonate much better than on a closed back pair of headphones. It will sound more open, so it will sound more wide, and certain tones will be more natural in an open back headphone comparison to a closed back headphone. So those are the Azuris, which is priced at $549, the Hades $699, and then the Bathys $800. So $799 for the Bathys. And then we're moving up to the big boys, the Celestes, which is a dark blue with copper accent, studio grade quality headphone, which was considered before 2024 their entry level headphone. 3.5mm jack and XLR cable is included. We have aluminum magnesium driver units, and the details are finished in copper. So the round cups are actually blue, and of course the Focal logo, it doesn't illuminate, but it's made from copper. You have copper details. The Focal logo is in copper, and they're closed back as well. So they use the same driver units, but a bit more updated though. So in terms of soundstage, the Celeste is a little bit more open than the Bathys, but in general, I mean, you know, you can kind of expect that from an amp-driven pair of headphones. Then you have the Clear series, which is considered the mid-class in Focal. They're priced at 1,549 euros. Of course, XLR cabled and 3.5 jack with an open-backed magnesium driver unit. So the aluminum has been replaced with a full magnesium driver unit, which will sound much better, more spacious, and much more detailed. Then, of course, you have their Stellia series, which is their, well, I mean, variant with their beryllium driver unit, but they're not made the same way as their Utopia series. The Utopia series is their most high-end version. I had the privilege because a friend of mine has the Utopia series with a Naim powered amplifier as well. So you're looking at a 10 grand audio station because the Utopia is priced at 4,999 euros. But of course, XLR cable and 3.5, and you need a powerful amplifier to drive those beryllium driver units. The headphone is fully made out of carbon fiber, very, very beautiful, but of course, yeah, top of the range Focal. So 4,999 is the most expensive if we're not talking about their collaboration with Mirage. So Assassin's Creed, they have a version that costs 100 grand. They're encrusted with diamonds, etc. It's just basically the same driver units, basically the same headphone, but it's made from 18 karat yellow gold, and of course you have the 18 karat yellow gold details with diamonds encrusted and stuff like that. So that's the most expensive Focal headphone on the planet, rivaling the Orpheus H1 from Sennheiser, right? So of course, in terms of headphones, you can you can get way more expensive than 800. So I want to give that to you guys, or situate that this is basically not as expensive as people might think. But of course, if you are a normal consumer and are used to Bose/Sony prices, maybe AirPods Max prices, these are quite the commitment, of course. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now that we situated the headphone and where they are sitting in the hierarchy of high fidelity headphones, let's talk more about the headphones. Let's switch the camera and let's show you what you get when buying a Focal Bathys. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk Focal Bathys and let's talk about what you get. Of course, the original packaging for the Focal Bathys is a white box with, of course, the Bathys symbol or, well, drawing on the headphone. Unfortunately, I don't have the original box anymore. I threw them away right before I got the headphone. It basically has a QR code inside to pair the Focal app or Focal/Naim app to your Bathys. And of course, yeah, Focal is owned by the Naim group. Naim is also very, very well known in the high fidelity audio group or audio world. Producing power amplifiers, music stations, and of course speakers together with Focal in the most high-end class you can actually buy in the world. But yeah, anyways, again, to the Bathys. Then of course, out of the box you get this beautiful carrying case. It's a woven fabric with an embroidered Focal logo. It is made of rubber. It's a kind of nice touch. Now, of course, this is a, well, how do I say this? Not a handy travel case. In that regard, it's quite big in my humble opinion. I think it's kind of comparable to, of course, the aluminum case you get on the Bang & Olufsen H95s, but in that regard, it's not the most ideal travel format. Unless you have a backpack with you, of course. I think they should have made the case smaller. Alright, so let's open this beautiful case, and there they are, ladies and gentlemen, in all their might and glory, as right here displayed, the Focal Bathys. So let's get into the specifications of the headphone first, and let's talk about the build materials. Alright, so a lot of people confuse this grayish part as plastic. It's not. This is actually solid magnesium. Magnesium is a very, very light alloy, but it's 4 times as strong as aluminum, and that's why they use it, and it gives that more luxurious feel. And especially if you are, rubbing your hand onto the cups of the headphone, you can actually feel like it's a metal instead of plastic. Of course, we have the Focal logo made from aluminum because the driver units inside are 40mm aluminum magnesium M-dome shaped drivers that they also use in their Aria speakers and their Katana speakers, I believe, as well, unless they also have the beryllium tweeter unit then in the more high-end. I think it's their Aria lineup from speakers that use the same M-dome shaped tweeter units. Of course, we have beautiful aluminum hinges right here, as on a Focal, or as you would expect from a Focal. You have the Focal logo or branded right on the top of the headphone. The headphone band is leather, of course. We have memory foam on the headband, and then of course, unfortunately, the cups don't collapse in. So this is basically how you lay down the headphone. You can lay it down like that, or turn the cups like that, but you cannot fold them, which is unfortunate in my opinion. I would have wished that, of course, they would fold a bit inwards, because yeah, that explains why the case is so big. But yeah, overall, I do think that's a flaw in the design. Of course, the hinges are aluminum. Then, of course, the extension is also aluminum. We have lamb's leather cushions, which are detachable. So you can actually detach the ear cups and replace them separately. These are very expensive. These cost $20 a piece. But you can also upgrade from the Focal Bathys cushions to the Utopia cushions, which are made from a higher end material. They isolate more sound, and you know, for people that want to use these as a performance thing, that's a better option, right? So of course, Focal also offers detachable cushions, and you can actually upgrade them through any type of Focal cushion. So like the Stellia, like the Utopia cushions, you can actually place them onto the Bathys for more sound isolation. So that's talking about the build quality. Let's talk about the specs right now. Alright, now that we got the build materials out of the way, let's talk about the specs. Of course, 6 microphones for ANC. 2 microphones for call quality. So of course the call quality isn't as crisp as on a Sony or a Bose. The Sony and Bose uses 4 microphones for call quality, and normally 6 microphones for noise cancelling. But of course the noise cancelling is quite good. Of course, with the Bathys, these are more aimed towards sound quality. Like on the Bathys and Wilkins, like I said in my previous video, these are not headphones you should be thinking about, you know, that uber clean noise cancelling. That's not the case with the Bathys, right? Second of all, of course, 6 microphones for noise cancelling, 2 microphones for call quality. The 2 microphones for call quality, in my humble opinion, isn't as great. Reason why? Because sometimes your voice becomes a bit staticky, and overall, I think communication-wise, they are one of the worser headphones on the market. Right? Okay, we have 30 hours of power, so 30 hours of listening time with ANC off. Of course, with ANC on, it's less. And that might be a deal breaker for a lot of people because, you know, most people see headphones with 40, 50, 60 hours of battery life. And let me explain you why these only get 30 hours out of the battery. And that's because of these driver units, right? In your normal average cheap GBLs or Marshall or whatever, everything below $200, you know, you're sitting with cheap driver units, especially, and then we're moving up to Sony, Bose, same thing. These are speaker driver units. These are M-dome shaped aluminum magnesium speaker driver units. They require a lot more power to give you that crisper, that clarity, that pristine quality, and instrument separation, vocal separation, and in order to give you that full package, to bring that high fidelity audio to this headphone, of course it will use more power. And you can see that with not only the Bathys, but with any expensive Bluetooth hi-fi headphone, Bowers & Wilkins PX8, for example the Master & Dynamic 75, the Bang & Olufsen H95. The only headphone on the planet right now that has more battery life for the price is the Bang & Olufsen H100s, and they're priced at $1,499, so it's not accessible for the average consumer. So let's get that out of the way. Even these are pushing the limits for most people, but they are insane when it comes to soundstage. Okay, that's about the specifications of the headphone. Let's talk about the controls, right? So of course the controls are on the ear cups. I love that they didn't put touch controls on this. I see it with Bose and Sony with those touch pads. It's terrible. It isn't, I mean, how do I say it? It usually doesn't even respond to your touch. I tested them out in the store and they were terrible. Never buy headphones with touch controls. Better to have physical buttons than touch controls, because you cannot accidentally do something wrong with with these, you know, buttons. You really have to press them before they actually do something. But with touch controls, if you wipe over the ear pads, yeah, sometimes it triggers certain gestures on the headphone. It's gonna be annoying, especially when using these for music production. Maybe you're on a public road or a public space and you want to, you know, use something better to mix your audio. These are the way to go, of course. Okay, so let's talk about controls. You have your volume knob right here. volume up, volume down rocker, and of course pause, skip, play button, and also the Bluetooth pairing button. You have this beautiful switch right here, which is a three-way switch. So you have the off version, right? This is now the off stand. Then of course you have the USB DAC mode, so if you want to plug it in to your computer, and you can see that the light is powering on. Of course the light is dimmable, so some people would prefer this not to shine. It's already a very attention grabbing headphone. People on the road or people in public will question what you're wearing, especially because of the design. I personally love Focal headphones, but I do admit that, you know, for people with arachnophobia or something like that, the pattern is a little bit spidery-like, so I do understand that some people might get freaked out about it, but I love it. So yeah, the light is dimmable in the Focal/Naim application, and then of course you have the on switch, which is all at the bottom, right? To put it in pairing mode, you just press the pause play button and hold it in for 5 seconds, and then the Focal logo will start beeping. Right, so that's the pairing symbol, of course, and then of course you have your customizable button. You can actually customize your ANC and awareness mode and toggle them between with this button. So ANC on, ANC off, and you hear like a, you know, well, how do I say this? Like a vacuum machine. If you activate ANC, you hear like a vacuum machine sucking away all the air. It's quite okay, it's quite neat, but it's not the most, how do I say it, interesting sound when toggling the ANC. But yeah, so that's about the controls. Of course, you should download the Naim/Focal app because there is a lot to talk about in that application. Like the Bang & Olufsen headphones, these have a 5-band equalizer. Now, of course, these are, well, the 5-band equalizer on the Focal app is a little bit more standard, but it does change the overall perspective and sound stage of the headphone. So if you want a more Harman target, you can actually achieve that. Now, for a lot of bass heads, these pair of headphones will not have that, you know, that swooming bass that makes the house, you know, vibrate. No, it's not like that. These pair of headphones, and plus those headphones like the Skull Candies, like the Bose, are not the most natural sounding when it comes to bass. Unfortunately, the bass is more amplified on these headphones, which is their marketing strategy, it's their sound signature, right? But it's not, this is not that type of headphone. This type of headphone is purely to get the most realistic sound stage without having to plug it into an amp or without it being an amp driven headphone. That's kind of the whole point with the Focal Bathys. All right, so let's talk more about the Naim/Focal application. So of course, once you pair these, which have fast pair, so of course with either a Samsung or an Apple or whatever, these will be found much quicker because of the fast pairing mode. They also have dual device support, which means you can pair 2 devices at once and switch between devices. For example, if you're using it for sound editing and someone calls you on your phone, you will actually be able to pick up that call, and then after the call is done, you can actually switch back to the music you were editing, which is quite handy, of course, and not a lot of headphones have these type of features, so that's kind of neat. Of course, it has fast charge, which means 15 minutes of charge equals 5 hours of listening time. So the charging time on this headphone is around an hour and a half from 0 to a full charge. I've been using this pair of headphone, of this headphone in particular, for like 5 to 6 hours a day for about a month now. I've been the owner of this headphone for a month now. I am honestly blown away by the sound stage and by the sound quality. What I noticed with Focal that I didn't notice with Bang & Olufsen and Bowers & Wilkins or any type of high fidelity, well, high fidelity, they're not. This is high fidelity, the AirPods Max, Bowers & Wilkins PX8. I wouldn't call it high fidelity. because they cannot stream lossless music because of course they don't have a DAC built in. So let's talk about, I'm gonna talk about the DAC later in the video. But anyways, these are one of the best Bluetooth headphones on the market. Now, of course, Bluetooth is a, well, technology that always has a bit of a delay, and that's something you do notice with the Bathys. When watching a movie, they don't have aptX low latency. So in that regard, sometimes when you are watching a video source, the delay might be a bit, but there have been patches to, you know, actually work that out, right? So don't worry about that. But these are more aimed at sound quality, right? So in regard how I use them, I use these for music and, you know, producing music and listening to music. And then of course I have my Bang & Olufsen and Bathys and Wilkins, and I use these for content creation or watching videos because they do have aptX low latency, and you do notice a bit of the difference. So yeah, that's about the specifications of the Focal Bathys. Right, so that's the pairing symbol, of course, and then of course you have your customizable button. You can actually customize your ANC and awareness mode and toggle them between with this button. So ANC on, ANC off, and you hear like a, you know, well, how do I say this? Like a vacuum machine. If you activate ANC, you hear like a vacuum machine sucking away all the air. It's quite okay, it's quite neat, but it's not the most, how do I say it, interesting sound when toggling the ANC. But yeah, so that's about the controls. Of course, you should download the Naim/Focal app because there is a lot to talk about in that application. Like the Bang & Olufsen headphones, these have a 5-band equalizer. Now, of course, these are, well, the 5-band equalizer on the Focal app is a little bit more standard, but it does change the overall perspective and sound stage of the headphone. So if you want a more Harman target, you can actually achieve that. Now, for a lot of bass heads, these pair of headphones will not have that, you know, that, well, swooming bass that makes the house, you know, vibrate. No, it's not like that. These pair of headphones, and plus those headphones like the Skull Candies, like the Bose, are not the most natural sounding when it comes to bass. Unfortunately, the bass is more amplified on these headphones, which is their marketing strategy, it's their sound signature, right? But it's not, this is not that type of headphone. This type of headphone is purely to get the most realistic sound stage without having to plug it into an amp or without it being an amp driven headphone. That's kind of the whole point with the Focal Bathys. All right, so let's talk more about the Naim/Focal application. So of course, once you pair these, which have fast pair, so of course with either a Samsung or an Apple or whatever, these will be found much quicker because of the fast pairing mode. They also have dual device support, which means you can pair 2 devices at once and switch between devices. For example, if you're using it for sound editing and someone calls you on your phone, you will actually be able to pick up that call, and then after the call is done, you can actually you know, switch back to the music you were editing, which is quite handy, of course, and not a lot of headphones have these type of features, so that's kind of neat. Of course, it has fast charge, which means 15 minutes of charge equals 5 hours of listening time. So the charging time on this headphone is around an hour and a half from 0 to a full charge. I've been using this pair of headphone, of this headphone in particular, for like 5 to 6 hours a day for about a month now. I've been the owner of this headphone for a month now. I am honestly blown away by the sound stage and by the sound quality. What I noticed with Focal that I didn't notice with Bang & Olufsen and Bathys and Wilkins, or any type of high fidelity, well, high fidelity, they're not. This is high fidelity, the AirPods Max, Bathys and Wilkins PX8. I wouldn't call it high fidelity. because they cannot stream lossless music because of course they don't have a DAC built in. So let's talk about, I'm gonna talk about the DAC later in the video. But anyways, these are one of the best Bluetooth headphones on the market. Now, of course, Bluetooth is a, technology that always has a bit of a delay, and that's something you do notice with the Bathys. When watching a movie, they don't have aptX low latency. So in that regard, sometimes when you are watching a video source, the delay might be a bit, but there have been patches to actually work that out, right? So don't worry about that. But these are more aimed at sound quality, right? So in regard how I use them, I use these for music and producing music and listening to music. And then of course I have my Bang & Olufsen and Bowers & Wilkins, and I use these for content creation or watching videos because they do have aptX low latency, and you do notice a bit of the difference. So yeah, that's about the specifications of the Focal Bathys. Alright, so let's talk about the USB DAC mode now. You're probably wondering, hey Liam, a computer and a phone already have a DAC built in. Why would you need a DAC in a pair of headphones? Now, first of all, let me tell you that the DAC that are used in computers and phones are shitty. So, in regards to sound processing, the DAC in the Bathys is way more capable than on any laptop or any phone combined. Now, of course, you have both now. So if you switch it over to USB DAC mode, and I would plug in the beautiful Focal cable, which has the Focal logo engraved on the cable. With the jack, it's the same thing. So you have the Focal name engraved on your 3.5 jack. So if you connect the USB-C cable right here and plug it into any, source, for example, the laptop, it will be able to stream files up to 24-bit in 192 kilohertz, up to 192 kilohertz. There are headphones that can go to 320 kilohertz, but those are amp-driven headphones, and then I'm talking exactly about the Orpheus H1, about the Focal Stalia or the Utopia, which are exactly 3,000 to 4,000 euros plus the amplifier. So that's a whole different level than of course the Bathys, but it does have a DAC, which allows you to stream lossless music through cable. So they're actually not only wireless headphones but also wired headphones, and this is why you're paying that $7.99, maybe $6.99 if you wait a bit until Christmas or Black Friday. I'm not sure if they will go on sale or on promotion, but usually they get a little bit of a promotion. You can find them used for 500, but who would buy a used pair of headphones? I don't personally. It's a hygienic thing. So I would not recommend buying a used pair of these. But of course, if you don't have the cash to splurge on that, on a new pair of Focal Bathys or any type of high fidelity headphone, and you can pick them up secondhand for a better price, okay, sure, whatever, but I would not recommend that, of course. So yeah, that is the explanation for the USB DAC mode. Yes, so of course with the phone and the laptop, the DAC combines both strengths, so which means the phone already converts the files a little bit, and then of course the headphone converts the files, which allows it to sound more open, which allows the files to sound more natural, sound more wide, sound more clear, and especially in higher volumes, these rock. It's very hard to describe the sound stage on these, but it is phenomenal, as you would expect from a Focal product. Alright, so what are my overall opinions on the Focal Bathys? Should you buy them? Should you file them? Should you, totally discard them? You should buy them. Honestly, if you want to invest, if you don't have a Bluetooth headphone at the moment in your house, and you want the best sound quality, and what I mean with best sound quality, I don't mean the warmest sound quality. If you want the most neutral and realistic sound quality, you should definitely buy these. These are as good as it can get when it comes to Bluetooth wireless headphone thingies and still get that high resolution, high fidelity audio that amp power or power amp headphones can get, right? If you don't want to spend that, I would recommend looking at cheaper alternatives like the Master and Dynamic 75, like the Bowers & Wilkins PX8 or PX7S2, or maybe the AirPods Max, but this is in a whole other category. So ladies and gentlemen, of course you cannot compare a Focal, a Mark Levinson, and a B&O to anything lower. You know, there are classes in this type of thing, so unfortunately, you know, if you don't want to spend the amount of money, you're gonna get an inferior product. That's just how the world of hi-fi works, especially, and the same thing with their speakers, right? You have their Aria speakers, which are their entry-level Focal speakers, costing around $1,000 per unit. And then of course you have their Tiva line, you have their Katana line, and then they have the Utopia line and something in between as well. The Utopia speakers from Focal cost about $250,000 per speaker. So like I said, Focal is top notch. It's entry. It's well, how do I say this? Last on the list, right? It's your final piece, your piece de résistance, how we say it in French. And of course, same thing with the Bathys. It's one of the last headphones you can add to your collections. And then of course, move a little bit up, like the Mark Levinson 5909 and the B&O Bang & Olufsen H100s, which unfortunately I think I am gonna buy later in this year, because of course it's never enough, you know. For me, audio is a very, very interesting thing. I love headphones, and I am committed to spend hundreds, maybe even thousands on a pair of headphones, because I don't really care about price. For me, it's all about that soundstage, all about the clarity, and I know that the H100s will probably sound insane as well. Are they worth $1,499? I'm not sure. I will see once I buy them, right? So I hope you enjoyed today's Focal video. If you have any more questions about these headphones, about other pair of headphones, leave a comment down below which headphone I should review next or purchase. And of course, I'll see you in the next Apophis Tech and Review video. Please stay safe, stay strong, and I'll see you next time. Whoosh.